Hey guys, Jeff here with Passive Income Unlocked, and this is the February 2022 income report. If you want to follow along, head on over to PassiveIncomeUnlocked.com. Should be right at the top. I'll also put a link in the description below. So if you want the short version, we made $28,896 in February. That's compared to $26,333 in January, which is close to a 10% increase. Keep in mind, we also had 3 less days in February over January. Our traffic did drop as a result, and we did have one site that lost some traffic, and I'll jump into that a little further on here. So the usual disclaimer before I jump in here, nothing you see here, revenue or expenses or anything like that, relates to PassiveIncomeUnlocked.com or the YouTube channel. So first thing, let's jump into the changes for February and the updates, whatnot. For the most part, we just stuck to what we've been working on, which is focusing on our existing sites like I touched on in the last income report. But we did make a couple of changes to site number 2. So one thing that we did do with that site is we launched a digital product. This is a product that we actually created a year or so ago. Didn't do a whole lot for us as far as revenue. Probably going to be the same this year, but we are testing some different placements on the site to try to drive more traffic to that landing page. And one other thing we did on that site with the same goal in mind is we created a custom homepage. So on all of our sites up to this point, we've just been using the blog roll as the homepage. And for the most part, for an informational site, that's completely fine, where you just show your latest post and just keeps updating every time you publish a new piece of content. But what we found is that as our sites start to grow really, really large, a higher percentage of our traffic actually visits the homepage. So on our oldest site, which has the most traffic, our homepage actually gets the most traffic now by far, more than any of our other posts. And on our second oldest site, it's about the third or fourth highest post in traffic as well. But when we first started those sites for a long time, it wasn't even in the top 20 or 30 posts. That's just one of those things. I think you kind of get more and more return visitors. And when you start to see that, it might make more sense to create a static homepage, basically. And the goal with that is to try to direct traffic where you want it to go on your site. So some things that we try to do with the static homepage on site number 2 is drive some traffic to that digital product that we created. We're also driving traffic to some of the higher competition keywords that we're trying to go after. So basically trying to direct that traffic where we want it to go. Increase the traffic going there in hopes that it will kind of drive those rankings up over time as well. Because you have to remember, internal links are a signal to Google as far as what content's more important. So if you're linking to something from your homepage, it tells Google that this piece of content is more important than the other pieces of content on your site. We did the same thing on site number 1 as well. We did that in March, so you're not going to see that mentioned in the income report for February. But we did just do the exact same thing with site number 1. I'm not sure if we're going to do the sites 3 and 4 and so on yet or not, but now that we've kind of got it figured out, we probably will at some point in time. So next, let's jump into the sites and the posts. So I'll bring up a screenshot here. So this is the age of all the sites here, number of posts. So like I said, we did cross that 3,000 mark, 3,000 post mark last month. And this month we only published about 125 posts. And I've probably mentioned this in the past, but we schedule out all of our posts across our site. So on the first 4 sites, we basically publish 4 posts per week on those sites. And then the 2 newest sites, we're publishing closer to like 30 to 50 posts per week, or per month, sorry, not per week, per month on those 2 newer sites. So even though we only published 125 pieces of content, that was more just because that's what we got back from our outsourced services. But it doesn't really change what's getting published per month because we have everything scheduled out in advance about 30 days anyways. Next, let's jump into traffic. I'll bring up a screenshot here. As you can see, we did lose a little bit of traffic. Really 2 reasons for that. One, and this is probably the biggest one, we had 3 less days in the month of February over January, so obviously you're going to lose some traffic from that reason alone. Second, if you look at the yellow on that graph there, that's site number 3. That site has actually been declining month over month for the last few months. That was our site that had been growing for the first 2 years of its life every single month for I think 24 months straight. And then it got hit by the November algorithm update, I believe it was. And since then, it's just kind of been dropping or flatlining. Haven't looked into it too much. One thing that I did notice just when searching some of the terms on that site, I did notice that we don't have any featured snippets out of the ones that I checked. And the reason I checked that was because so many other YouTubers are mentioning that they had this problem with the November algorithm update. And this particular site targets a lot of queries that are really short, simple answers where if you don't have the featured snippet, you're not going to get the traffic. And that was actually part of the strategy on site number 3. So, and I noticed that we don't have any of those on any of the ones that I'm searching now. We're still ranked like number 1 or 2 or 3. but we don't have that 0 position, which is typically what you call the featured snippet spot. So I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but whatever the case, we did drop down a bit on that site in our rankings, and it's definitely being reflected in the traffic to that site. Nothing's going to change at this point in time. We're just going to keep an eye on it and see what happens from here. So next, I'll pull up a graph for revenue. So this is total revenue across our sites. So again, we made $28,896. You can see that this is a little bit of an increase over January. As usual, most of our money comes from display ads. Our RPMs did go up from roughly 23 to 27 in January to 26 to 35 in February. That was the average across our 4 sites that are monetized. So pretty good sized jump there. And that's the main reason that we made more money in February over January. Going into March, we do expect that to go up again. We also expect our traffic to go up as well because we have probably 3 sites, two sites that are seasonal that do really well in the summer. A third one that site number 3 that I just mentioned that has a lot of seasonal content on it as well. So that'll probably improve starting in March, April, and so on as well. So we do expect to see the traffic start to really rise high over the next few months, and we think the RPMs are going to go up as well. As a result, we should be making a lot more money here shortly. So as far as our revenue sources, first screenshot I'll bring up here, this is Mediavine. This is where we make most of our money, of course. So we made $27,814 from Mediavine here. As you can see, site number 1 still brought in the majority of our revenue, but the other 3 sites will start climbing here over the next few months. As you can see, site number 2, which is the third one listed there, up to $6,000 almost last month. That one's starting to climb already. We did notice that the traffic's really starting to rise there. So we'll see what happens. We've also been putting a big focus on internal linking for that site. We literally went through every single post on that site over the last 2 months and added internal links to probably about 70% of those posts. When we do internal linking, we only add links where it makes sense. We're not forcing anything, so there's still about 30% of our posts that didn't really have any relevant content on the site. But we did end up with adding internal links to about 70% of our posts on site number 2, and that's compared to probably about 20-something% when we started just a couple of months ago. So we're not sure if that's factoring yet or not. We haven't really tried to figure that out. But either way, the traffic and revenue are rising very nicely on that site. So next revenue source here is Amazon Associates. I'll bring that up here on the screen. We made about $922 from our U.S. account. We also made a little bit from our international account, so about $61. And then after Amazon Associates, we did make a little bit of money from a few other sources. You can see the details for those on the site. One thing you'll see listed there is a digital product. Again, we launched that on site number 2. We made $27.65 there. Not much at all, just a handful of sales. We're testing price points on that. We're testing the placement as far as how to get placement on our site to get traffic to that landing page. We're not doing pop-ups or anything like that at this point in time, so we'll see what we're going to do there. I don't know how hard we're going to push to get traffic to that landing page, but we do expect that to go up as we get more traffic to that site as we start to get into the season here over the next few months. I don't think it's going to be a high earner for us by any means, but it's at least a way to get a little bit more revenue towards the sites that's a little bit more diversified. All right, so next I'll jump into expenses. So for the month of February, we spent just over $9,000, so $9,021. Most of that, as usual, is attributed to content from outsourced services, so text and passion posts. That's basically the majority of it last month. A little bit from Rocket Hosting, $100. Shutterstock's what we're using for images, so about $170 there. And the rest of it's very, very minimal, under $30. All right, so net profit for February. Again, we made $28,896. Subtract out our expenses of $9,021, and we were left with a net profit of $19,875. So I'm not going to jump into the future goals and plans like I typically do in this video, simply because it hasn't changed from the last video. Basically, in a nutshell, we're focusing on improving our existing content across our sites. We're not looking at adding new sites at this point in time or anything like that. If you want details on that, jump back to the January income report. So guys, just want to keep it short and sweet here. So that's it for this report. We do expect a big climb in March and April as far as revenue and traffic. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. Also, keep your eyes peeled for another video here. Should be out in just a few days here. That'll be an update for the case study site, so site number 6. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.